Welcome and thank you to this presentation of Centerprise Customer Web Portal. We're very excited. Let me go ahead. So welcome and thank you. Again, we're very excited to be able to present this to you. This has been brewing for quite a while, and we're very excited to be able to show it to you. So before we begin, though, a couple of things on how this is going to go. I'm going to show you the rest of this PowerPoint spliced in with some live kind of demos of the application. And so if you have any questions at all during this presentation, be sure to submit them to the chat section or the Ask Question section of GoToWebinar on your screen or on your GoToWebinar software. What that'll do is it'll start queuing up the questions. We'll have someone go through them and be able to answer. Maybe they might ask for some clarification of your question. Regardless, at the very end of the presentation, we'll go through and we'll try to answer as many as possible. So if we might go over the hour, we might not, but we'll try and be able to answer as many as possible in that time. So again, at any point, feel free to ask a question because you might forget later. Okay, a little bit about Astera software and who we are. So we've been around for about 20 years. And we've been in the data integration space for about 10 years. So in those 10 years, we've gathered a tremendous amount of expertise in the ETL arena with our products Centerprise, Report Miner, and EDI Connect. Centerprise being kind of the umbrella term for all of our ETL offerings, including Report Miner and EDI Connect. Report Miner being the basically the module that can read data that's not in a perfect tabular matrix, be able to kind of zone little regions and be able to define how you're able to read that. So that's the Report Miner, and the EDI Connect, of course, is the module that deals with EDI files and functionality. So it all, again, falls under the Centerprise umbrella, including this new offering, which is the Customer Web Portal. So again, we've been at this for about over 10 years and developed a tremendous amount of expertise in this area. Who am I? My name is Mike O'Quinn. I head up support here at Astera Software. If you've ever submitted a ticket to us in the past, it's come across my desk. I also do a lot of the trainings when people purchase our product, and I have over 10 years of experience here at Astera as well. I will be your guide on this tour of the Customer Web Portal, and hopefully you find me not too boring, and I'll be able to impart new knowledge onto you as far as what we're offering. Okay, so what is it that we're offering? What are we talking about? Why are you here? It's because of the Centerprise Customer Web Portal. What is it? It is a website, but it's actually more than just a website, and we'll get into that in a little bit later. But for the most part, you can think of it as just a website, a web interface over basically our ETL offering. So it facilitates partner file exchanges. So if you are a customer of Centerprise and you have your own customers and you need to deal with them sending you files, this will greatly help that effort. So it gives an outside interface to the already powerful Centerprise ETL engine. So why did we come up with a portal? Well, the reason why we come up with a portal is because people keep asking for it. It's one of the #1 things people have been asking about from us for a long time now. In fact, a lot of times what happens is customers have their own IT shops. They end up building their own web portal, which is great if you have the resources to be able to do that. Many of our customers do not, and they have some sort of workaround that they make work, or maybe it's less than optimal, and so we keep getting asked this question quite a bit. So they need to be able to collaborate with their customers, and another reason is that file tracking is inherently not in Centerprise. So we do tracking at the job level, not at the file level, with the current on-premise ETL tool. So this allows you to get basically a more abstract level of tracking that makes sense more to your customers. Another very important part is that it adds a listening endpoint capability to the product. So this is something that also wasn't there in the past. So for example, if you have Salesforce workflow and you need to be able to trigger something, a job being run on your end, you can do that with this new web portal. And again, it adds another a needed level of abstraction. Your customers don't need to know about Centerprise or how it works. They probably don't want to. All they know is they have this file they need to get to you somehow. And this helps facilitate that by making the process more of a self-service process than you having to hold their hand and babysit them, walk them through, teach them, educate them. This is a very simple website. You just give them a URL and go. So that brings us to the two user types in the application. You have the admin and the partner. So the admin, or the Centerprise customer, they own a copy of Centerprise running on their customer premise somewhere, or maybe it's on some Amazon instance that they own. But basically, they are the people who understand, they develop with Centerprise, they know what's going on. So they are the ones that benefit from the use of Centerprise. They have it installed on their premise somewhere. They see all the traffic in and out of the portal when they log into the customer portal because they have the permissions to see that. And they see the data at an organizational level. So they don't just see files from one organization. They might have several different partners that they work with, and they need to be able to see all that data in aggregate, kind of like a summary. The partner only sees his or her data. So they're the ones that they received an email link from you saying, hey, check out my new website. They log in, and they only see the data that they're concerned with. They see what happened to their old files that they submitted to you, what happened to them, and if they need to go back in time and search for something, they could do that. But they're only concerned with their data, and they might not work with the website in a very frequent manner, right? So they might just every month, a couple months, or whatever the frequency is between your partner and you, they log into the website, at which point they're not going to remember how this website works, but because it's so easy, it's very easy to relearn it again. You just log in, look at the list, submit it, click the submit button, and go. So it's very simple for that reason, so that your partner can use it and can use it in the future without any sort of training. So for example, let's take Bob and Abby. Okay, so these are fictitious people, maybe. So Bob is an admin, so he's considered part of the admin role, and he is an IT manager at Awesome Tires Incorporated. Right, so he and his company, they build tires to sell to stores, which then in turn they sell to you, or sell to people when you need tires. And so he already uses the Centerprise ETL system to load data into his databases and other systems. So he also manages the Centerprise portal website. So he also has purchased the portal website, and this gives him the ability to provide this interface to his customers, one among them being Abby. He gives the URLs to his partner. He invites them to be able to register to the site, to log into the site, and they're able to log in and then work with it on their own. Abby, on the other hand, is considered the partner role, and she works as a purchaser for Big D Tire Mart. Okay, so she has no knowledge of Centerprise. She doesn't know anything about it. In fact, Abby knows knows all the ins and outs about purchasing for her company, she's really not the most technical person. So if you were to, if Bob was going to try and give her, so okay, here, install Centerprise or install this other application, and please attend the training for it, and here you're going to have to set up these schedules and all that. Abby's eyes are going to glaze over because that's not interesting to her. So Bob just gives her a URL. She gets that URL and she just logs in and is able to go about submit files to Bob. So in a kind of a diagram kind of view here, so this is what it kind of looks like. So on the left side here, on the partner, you can consider this Abby. So Big D Tire Mart purchases tires from the Awesome Tire Company. So Abby, on the left side here, has her files. She logs into the website, submits them. The Centerprise customer portal logs that submission, tracks it, and then sends that information to the Centerprise ETL engine, which then validates the file. It maps it in an all of this is in an automated process. So all this happens behind the scenes. Abby doesn't see any of it. But all of this is processes that are happening for her file. Centerprise sends the message back to the customer web portal. The submission is then updated, and then Abby is notified of that update. So it's a pretty clean process, and Abby doesn't have to deal with a lot of the complexity. So let's take a look now at this in action. So I'm going to log in as Bob, right? So I am the owner of Centerprise, the manager of this website, and I'm going to log in. And right away I see all of the recent submissions from the past week. I see that there's been 24, a couple are still in the processing phase, and a number of them have been terminated. So I might have to keep an eye on that a little bit. So now I need to add Big D. We just signed a deal with Big D Tires, so we need to go ahead and add that organization. So here you can see a list of all the previous organizations. I'm going to click on Add New Organization, add in the Big D Tire, add in my address, Swift Lane, and maybe some other information. So the contact is going to be Abby Smith, and the email is going to be a smith@bigdtire.com. And then I'm going to give the domain name, and this is going to be important because by doing this, now anybody who registers to the site will automatically be joined to that organization because they have the same email address. So that just kind of just self-organizes people. Then I'm going to give a phone number, 778-6546. And now I'm going to specify which types Big D Tire is sending me. So I've already pre-populated a list of available file types for me. So in this case, I have my 850 purchase order that comes from some esoteric ERP system, the Super Duper Express purchase order format, which is kind of wonky. So I need to be able to give them that format. They do not send me any files in an EDI format, so I'm not going to worry about listing this file type for them. So that way when Abby logs in, she doesn't have to guess which file type she has to send. That's already been handled for her by Bob. And then I add it. In this case, I've already added Big D Tire, so I don't have to do that. So let's go ahead and go to Big D Tire, and now I'm going to invite a user. So I'm going to invite Abby. So I click here to invite, and now I'm just going to do A Smith. So let's just do A Smith again from Big D Tire Mart. And now the role is going to be not an admin, but a user. Send an invite. And now this will show up in Abby's email box. So when Abby will get an email at some point, so if I go to my inbox, you'll see that it's an invite to sign up for Centerprise Online. I click here to join, and now Abby just fills in this information and clicks register, and then she's able to log in. So when Abby logs in, and I'm just going to log out because I've already registered Abby. And I actually changed her name. Let's change it back. Let's edit here just real quick. Abby Smith. Update. Okay, so now let's go back to the submissions here. So now Abby needs to submit the file to Bob. So she's going to click on the new submission. She's going to select her file. So she's going to pick her tire purchase order from 525, click open, and now select the file type. So because Bob has already set this up for her, she only picks the purchase order type S, and she says, here are my orders for all of June. Okay, maybe that's too many orders, but anyway, so you get the idea. So then she's going to click on Upload File, at what point it automatically gets added to the list here. And you can see that it was uploaded. She hovers the mouse over, so you can see what type it is, when it was uploaded, and all that good stuff. So now if I go back to my email inbox, which is here, click one, you'll see that there's been several updates to my file submission. And if I click on one of these emails, you can see that a response has been uploaded to the file. So if I click on this link now, I can see all the history for that particular file, including when it was uploaded and the fact that it was terminated. So I see that it was terminated, and I also see that there's a response file sent back to me. So here's the original file, and now here is the error file. If I click on that, I can now see exactly what happened. So here is the SKU number for each purchase order, and a specific error, product given for the SKU was not found. For this SKU, same thing. For this SKU, exceeds the limit of 50 count per item. So these are all custom error messages that were designed by Bob at Awesome Tire Company, and he was able to automatically communicate, automatically validate, and automatically communicate back to Abby that the file was rejected and sent back to her. Basically, it was rejected, she did not sent back to her, but the response file sent back. So Abby's able to instantly see this and instantly get notified of it. So she doesn't have to keep logging into the website to check on this. She just needs an email address to be able to see that. And then she logs in, and now she can correct it and then resubmit it to the site. Okay, so a couple of highlights about what you just saw, or with what you just saw. Number one is the dashboard. The dashboard gives you an overview of all activity happening when you log in, so you don't have to go fish for things. You can instantly see them at an aggregate level at different types. You can see how many, all submissions, how many are in processing still, how many are terminated due to error. All of that you can see, and all of that you can see based on your own definition of what recent is. Is it a week? Is it last month? Is it just today? You can control that and see a view that's pertinent to your interest. And it all happens in real time. If you just leave the dashboard open, all these numbers will start updating automatically. If you have a ton of traffic, this will be pretty fun, because you'll see these numbers changing pretty every couple of seconds. You can also find and track old submissions by using the search box. So at the top of the submission list, there'll be that search box. You start typing in here, and it'll instantly start filtering out the list of submissions that meet that criteria. So it'll search across the organization name, the file name, whatever you type in here, it'll look for anything having to deal with this particular keyword. You can also further filter it out based on predetermined attributes, such as per organization, if you're the admin. What the status is, well, maybe I just want to find the records that were found to be erroneous, and also by time. So I can search by the last 3 days, 1 week, 1 month, or like you see here, a custom date range. So with this tool, you can easily manage all your partners in one place using the organization view. Right, so if you click on organizations, you get a list of all organizations, and you can specify what types for each organization, and also easily invite new people to the organization. And better yet, have the people in the organization invite each other. Right, so they just do a self-registration. At what point Bob, right, he doesn't want to basically spend his time sending out emails to everybody. He just creates one point of contact, sends it to that person, and then everybody else in that organization, they just self-register. Bob comes in here, and he just approves of all these people from that organization. So that's completely controlled by the permissions of the site, and you can tighten it down or loosen it up depending on your preference. The best part is that there's no software to install for your partners. So your partners don't have to configure anything. All they got to do is log into the site, click the submit button, and they're done. So this is very attractive. Maybe if you're selling to new customers, saying, hey, we have this great process of how we deal with these types of files. You don't have to deal with any sort of configuration or setup or anything like that. No headaches. On the file type screen, you're able to define what those file types are. They're basically the contract between you and your customer. So basically, to bring in Bob and Abby again, so Bob defines what these are, because he has a understanding of what the super duper purchase type is, and he knows exactly what an 850 is. So these are user defined types that represent one of these formats. And so what this allows you to do now is it allows you to have completely different processing workflows for different files. And maybe it's just one workflow that handles everything, and you have a sub workflow which handles the reading for this file type versus that file type. So this just helps Centerprise on the back end know what type of file to start processing. So do a little bit of setup on Bob's part in the beginning, and then everything else runs pretty smoothly. As far as scalability is concerned, this is because it's a website and it's in the cloud. You can automatically take advantage of the inherent load balancing of the aspect of it. So if you need to spin up another server, great. Just run another server, have another instance of the website, have it load balanced automatically. Doesn't matter because from Centerprise's point of view, it's just talking to one API. And speaking of which, it's backed by the Centerprise ETL, which is already load balanced and already known for being able to process very high volume data sets, as well as high volume number of transactions, per minute. So at both points, this is a loosely coupled system, and you're able to just add more hardware to it, more instances of servers, and be able to handle any throughput as well as any file size, ranging from a couple of kilobytes to all the way to a couple of gigabytes. So all of those scenarios are handled and part of the customer web portal. Security. The website supports SSL, of course, so all transactions, any activity on the website is done via SSL. So just like you communicate with your bank, Centerprise, the web portal, also provides the ability to have secure certificate level encryption. And then not just the transmission is encrypted, but we also support file encryption. So a requirement that we often get is that the file needs to be encrypted before it's sent across to the partner, or so from the partner to the customer, they need to send the file in an encrypted format. The web portal supports that. You just kind of set up the key ahead of time with your partner, and then Centerprise will be able to use that key to decrypt the file and process it, and also encrypt the response file back to the partner. So this website can be deployed anywhere. It's a standard website, or actually more of a web application, and it can be deployed on your network. It can be deployed, so it's an intranet application. It can be deployed on a standard web host that you might get from my cool host. Any standard web host will do that they support the Windows.NET framework, and it also can be loaded onto cloud providers such as Amazon or Azure or any other cloud provider. And you also support white labeling. So you can change the part at the very top of the screen, so it doesn't have to say Astera's or Centerprise or anything. It can say Bob's Awesome Tire Company. So when Abby logs in, she just says, oh, this is pretty cool. They have their own little website. So they don't have to know anything that there's a third party that's Astera, powered by Astera or anything. You can control the colors and the scheme of that through the configuration. So let's take a look, revisit this diagram again, right? So I want to focus now, we kind of focused on these sections of the web portal. Now I'd like to shift gears and look a little bit about what's happening behind the scenes, right? So if we think about that whole process, the interaction between Abby and Bob, where she submitted a file, and then almost instantly she got a response back validating the file, basically telling her that their file was rejected. All that was happened by Centerprise. So there's a invisible component which is on Bob's network, and it is processing files and doing the validation, the mapping, notification, all that good stuff. So that is all handled by the Centerprise ETL, and it is a metadata-driven mapping application, and it uses rule-based validations. So on your screen here, you see an example of that mapping, right? So he's able to define that this is the super-duper purchase order, right? It's a hierarchical format. He's able to define that type of format, how to read it in the tool, and then how that maps to his various database destinations. He's inserted a data quality rule check to basically make sure before he inserts it into the database that it's conforming to some business rules that he has, such as if he's doing a lookup, the product must still exist, and the quantity must not exceed 50. So here's the two rules: is not null, and the quantity is less than 50. So these are powerful rules that you can define, that Bob defines in his Centerprise workflows and data flows, and Abby doesn't have to know anything about it. So Abby just submits the file. Bob, on the other hand, is well versed in how to process, or maybe the people that work for Bob is well versed on how to leverage these rules to be able to handle all kinds of different files without having to burden their partners and the details of it. They can also define, Bob can also define his own workflow and custom workflow depending on the file. So it's basically the workflow is just a flow chart. So in this case, you're looking at first we're going to get a hold of that file that was submitted to the website. We are then going to load it to the table, then check using our rules again. Does the file contain any errors? If it does, send a response file back and mark the submission as rejected. So any type of custom workflow can be defined in the tool, and it can be, you can have as many workflows as you want. You can have one workflow that handles all files, or if need be, you can have a workflow, maybe you have a main workflow that handles all files, and then you have sub workflows that, specific kind of business process for a particular file. So for example, you have an EDI file that comes in, maybe you need to instantly send back an acknowledgement for that file, regardless of if you're going to process it or not. So let's take a quick look at the Centerprise again. So here is the back end of the application, and you can see here we have our diagram containing our flow. If I look at the, if I'm Bob again, right? So if I log in as Bob and I go back to the dashboard, I can see that I have several, including this one that was just submitted, that was terminated. So you can see here that it was just submitted to the site, and I can see that there's several that have been terminated, right? So this is quite a high number of those. So I click on this and I can see all those terminated, including the one by Abby Smith. I click on it and I see the exact same details that Abby can see, including what happened. So now Bob goes back to the back end and sees, what's going on here, right? So he checks the flow, makes sure everything's fine. Maybe he needs to check the individual data flow, right? He can control that here. Maybe he needs to look at the jobs. So he has his own little list of what's happening at the job level. And he can also look at what's happening at the scheduler level. So here he has many different types of schedules already set up, including the run on submission anytime the file, this workflow type is submitted. So Bob has a lot of ability to be able to handle any type of data transformations in the product, and he's able to shield that completely from Abby. So here, let's take a look at this diagram again. And here on the left side is the here's Abby's side again, right? So we've only been focused on the file aspect of it, right? So Abby logs into the website and she clicks the submit button, which is basically these two boxes here, and then that's tracked to the website. So what we are not been highlighting as of yet is also a very powerful opportunity now, right? So let's say that Abby thinks, from the Big D Tire Company, maybe Big D Tire Company grows, and now the process of manually logging into the website and clicking on the submit button, they've outgrown that. There's too many purchase orders. They need to have some sort of automation. So Abby's now hired some IT staff, or she has coworkers that are IT, and they've developed their own applications that can automatically submit files to the web portal. So these three boxes here represent the API, right? So if you have, let's say, your own website, own JavaScript, JSON, REST client, and is submitting data to the customer web portal, to Bob's customer web portal. So now Abby doesn't even have to get involved. So now this all can happen automatically. Also, maybe there's an AS2 EDI server, which is sending out AS2 messages. Bob's portal can listen on AS2 and be able to receive the data from AS2. Likewise with email and FTP. So it's not just the front-end website. The ability to listen to back-end invisible application requests, and now the partner has a bunch of systems, right, that can communicate automatically with no user interaction to the customer web portal. And those submission channels being obviously the one we've looked at, the web form, the web API, right? So you maybe Big D Tire developed a tablet application, and it submits to the portal via the web API. Maybe you don't deal with the website. Abby doesn't deal with the website at all, right? So maybe she's just is a Outlook jockey, right? So she just has her Outlook email. She just fires off emails to Bob. Bob doesn't care. Bob has the portal configured to listen for these emails. So as soon as the email comes in, the submission happens just as easily as if Abby were to submit it using the web browser. Same thing with AS2 and FTP and SFTP. We basically FTP, but with a secure aspect of it. So when can you see this? Well, you can sign up now for the early preview, basically immediately, and it launches on July 17th. So we're very eager to get this in the hands of our customers, and we welcome your feedback. And then now I'll be taking questions from the audience here. Okay, so let's take a look now at the questions. And here we go. So we have, okay, is this web portal something that we could deploy and host locally? And then it's already been answered. Oh yes, this works in tandem with Centerprise, and you can install it either on-prem or in the cloud. That is correct. So the benefit that this is going to be is if you're going to want to install this, probably not locally. I mean, you're probably going to want to put this in the cloud just so that you get the separation of concerns from Centerprise. So basically, as a security precaution, you're probably going to want to put this in the cloud. Now you could put this on your internal network, but I would recommend if you did that, that was for more of an intranet application. But if you have the know-how, by all means, you can secure this down, lock down all the ports. You can have a web host in your network and have your partners communicate directly to that. So it's not unheard of, not the first time I've heard of that, but yes, you can install this application anywhere as long as the endpoint is reachable by your partners. It should work. Okay, what is the pricing for the product? That you'll have to talk to some of our salespeople. They can be in contact with you, and they can give you an idea of what the cost is for the product. Okay, so with that, I guess since there are no more questions, we'll go ahead and leave you with this. Thank you for joining us. If you have any questions, please contact the Astera sales team at this number, or you can leave an email at this address. And you can learn more about the web portal and other ETL offerings at www.astera.com. My name is Mike again. Thank you for listening to the webinar, and hopefully you'll find interest in this tool. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us, and we'll be able to we'll be happy to answer them for you. Okay, thank you, and goodbye.